What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I am back with another review of Growing Up Hip Hop LA. This is, of course, Season 6, Episode 3, and let's go ahead and talk about this episode. So we start this episode off with Angela and JoJo. They're at her apartment. They're just talking about why she's in Miami, and JoJo already knows that it's for her boyfriend, but Angela is like, no, I've always wanted to move to Miami, all this stuff. And he's like, well, wait a second, because I was telling you that I should move to Miami, and you were telling me, no, don't do it. Yeah, I do side-eye Angela for that, because like, how you gonna tell him no, it's a bad idea, but it's perfect for you? Okay, girl. So then they talk about JoJo wanting to do something for Denise. Their 1-year anniversary is coming up, and he wants to throw like a little party or a little celebration for them, just because, with the miscarriage happening, they do need something to celebrate and be happy about, instead of always, being sad. So I really think that that's super thoughtful of JoJo, and I think Denise will really love the idea. So he did say that he knew a party planner by the name of Cree, who happens to be Uncle Luke's daughter, and we're going to meet her a little bit later in the episode. Alright, guys, so the next scene that we had to suffer through was Egypt singing her shoulda coulda wouldas on the track. I guess she's in the studio trying to come up with an album. Her and Sam are working, of course. Who else would she work with? And Savannah shows up. So Savannah shows up. I'm sorry, Vanna. I don't know why I keep saying Savannah. Savannah shows up or whatever. Her and Egypt are trying to get really cool. And I just find it interesting that right when she pretty much walked in the door, you have Sam texting Boogie that she showed up. And this is when we learn that, of course, he wants to pursue her, because we already know that he had his eyes on her when they were at Pep's house. But within this scene, he ends up asking her on a date. I feel like it was a very awkward way of asking her, because I don't think she took it seriously in that moment. But one other thing that I want to point out in this scene was the fact that Sam talked about how, they don't work together, him and Egypt, as far as a project together, because people feel like he's just piggybacking off of Egypt, because when she met him, he was broke. And I'm like, yeah, but you still are piggybacking, but okay, sir, whatever. Egypt actually played a little bit of a track that she had with her dad, Tretch. And I will say this, Tretch didn't sound bad. As far as Egypt goes, I don't need Treppa to be rapping at all. I need for her to go back to the drawing board, try to model, try to do something else. I just don't think that music is her strong suit. Alright, you guys, so after that scene, we have Tyran meeting up with his cousin TT, and, they just chop it up about her being, a new mom. She brings out baby Lath, who is so adorable. He really just is there to talk about how he has his new school and it's open. I did not realize that his school was in New York, but that makes more sense. One thing about this show this season, for sure, they are everywhere but LA. They have been to Miami, they've been to Vegas, they've been to New York. I'm like, and at what point are we filming in LA, guys? Please let us know why this is called Growing Up Hip Hop LA. If we're just going to be everywhere but LA. So anyways, he's opened up his school. He's very happy about it. He wants TT to come see it before, he has like a huge grand opening, which I think is really dope, because you already know TT is very proud of him, because those two, they grew up together. They're more like brother and sister, probably more so than him and Egypt. So he ends up asking her about, has he talked to like her aunt and her cousin, which would be Egypt and Peppa, and of course she hasn't. So now he gets the bright idea, oh yeah, I should try to get the family back together. Here's the thing, I understand Tretch told you that when people have beef, it escalates and all that stuff he was talking about on the last episode, but he was talking about JoJo and Sam, not Peppa, Egypt versus TT. Like, at the end of the day, your mom and your sister did TT dirty. Like, they need to come to her and be like, hey, we need to have this discussion. Tyran, do not involve yourself in this. Alright, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and move on to this scene with Brianna and Twist. They are meeting up at the park. We are finally back in LA. And first of all, them eating Kool-Aid and pickles. Oh my gosh, it just reminds me of middle school when I used to know this guy who used to sell Kool-Aid and pickles. I never bought it. I never understood the hype, but maybe I should try it because they seem to make it look like it's super lit. So, first of all, I love Twist and Brianna's friendship. I love how they really are like ride or die brother and sister. And when Brianna started talking about how she's not feeling Boogie anymore because he didn't have her back, I was totally on her side, because you cannot sit in Egypt and Sam's face and then let them talk crap about me, but you don't say anything. We already know, like, if that was Twist in that situation, he would definitely be like, hey, that's my sis, don't talk about her like that. But no, this is Boogie. He does play the fence, both sides of the fence or whatever, when it comes to who he wants to be cool with. Like, it's one thing to be, oh, I'm friends with everybody, I'm cool with everybody. But when it comes to the point where you have a group of people and they are talking crap about somebody who you're cool with, yeah, at some point you're going to have to take a stand and be like, hey, don't talk about that person like that. So I get it, Brianna. Also, can I just say how cute Brianna looked in this entire scene? I just need to go ahead and admit that I have like a huge crush on Brianna at this point. So back to the subject at hand, though, Brianna does say that when she does see Boogie, they're not going to be as cool as they used to be. And I believe on the next episode, they are going to see each other. So I'm so ready to see how that conversation goes. We have Twist. He has to update Brianna on him meeting up with Pep, because of course she would not know that any of this happened because she didn't go to Vegas with everybody. So he's like, yeah, Pep called me or whatever. She wants to talk about what's going on with me and Sam. And then he goes on to mention how Sam always wears like a thong or whatever. I wonder if he told Brianna about the OnlyFans thing, and they just like cut it out. But she clearly seems shocked because she's like, I don't want any of that energy in my space, in my area, in my home, and I completely understand that. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the next scene, and that's going to be Stevie J playing basketball with Stevie Jr. First of all, Stevie Jr. is so cute. Yes, I have a little crush on him too. And I will say, Stevie does not look bad for his age, considering like he didn't have a shirt on. He out here running up and down the court. Like, okay, Stevie, at least you are still in shape. So they just basically have a conversation about what is Savannah doing for money. That was pretty much the whole point of this conversation, because Stevie Jr. said that like he looked up her apartment and it's $6,000 a month. $6,000 a month. Yet she don't have no job. And I completely understand where Stevie is coming from at this point. Like, girl, you are a young woman in LA. LA is not a cheap place to live. And the fact that she is over here, taking all these photos on Instagram, on Rodeo Drive. She has all this, designer that, luxury this, luxury that. And it's like, but girl, you don't have no job. Where are you getting this money from? Do you have a sugar daddy? You got an OnlyFans? Like, Vanna, what are you doing? And like Stevie said, this lifestyle that you're leading now, like, you have to keep it up. This is the game of keeping it up with the Joneses. Ain't that how I go? Like, you can't be over here and posting yourself in the big body Benz, and then the next day you driving a Nissan. Like, no, girl, you want to be in the big leagues and like flossing on everybody that you got all this stuff. Okay, don't be mad when, life starts to crash down on you and you don't have it no more. Because like Stevie said, he did spoil his children. I don't know how true that is, considering he owed child support and all that stuff. But considering at one point Stevie was a big producer. Like, as much as we give Stevie crap, I am not going to deny that that man is talented, and I'm not going to deny the fact that he is a great producer. He has definitely produced some hit music, and at one point he did have money to probably splurge on his kids, and of course you get accustomed to a lifestyle, but it's not exactly your lifestyle once you become grown and you need to make your own path, because that right there was daddy's money, not yours. Alright, y'all, so after that, we have another scene of Angela. She's on FaceTime with Daniel, and basically the whole point of this conversation was for her to find out that she can't go to his match because somebody tested positive and all this stuff was happening with COVID, so she can't come. So now she's sad about that. And I'm like, girl, I don't know, I just feel some type of way of us seeing so much of this guy considering they are no longer together. Like, we have literally seen more scenes with Daniel than we have seen of Brianna. I would rather see Brianna, okay, than to see Daniel. So after she gets off the phone, though, her assistant sits down, and honestly, I thought her assistant had like some type of attitude or something, because that woman always had like a stank face. So as they're talking or whatever, she's basically trying to figure out where is Angela's head at when it comes to this relationship with Daniel. Because she's asking her questions like, so how does that make you feel that you won't be able to attend his fight? And then she also ended up asking Angela like, oh, so do you feel like he's not making you a priority? And Angela's like, oh, I don't know. But I'm just like, well, you already knew what you signed up for when you start dating him. He's a boxer, he has to go into training and all these things, so there was a possibility that you can't be clingy and sit up under him all day. So one thing that I noticed about just the body language of her assistant versus Angela in this scene is the fact that I feel like her assistant was one step away from saying, girl, if you like it, I love it. Which we already know, whenever a black person says that, they don't like it, they don't love it. So I don't think that her assistant is really feeling Angela dating this guy. I think that her assistant is just like, okay, girl, this is what you're doing, but it doesn't mean that I have to support it. But she's not going to say anything because she knows her role, and that is Angela's assistant. She is not any type of life guide or life coach or her parent or someone to be like, he's not good for you. I think she's just riding it out until the relationship is over. But also this kind of made me realize that I don't think I would want to be a celebrity's assistant ever, because it's one thing if we're going on trips and all this stuff for work, but like if you pack up and move to Miami, does that mean that I have to move as well? Because who said I want to move there? Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the next scene, which is Stevie J, Stevie Jr. They are popping up on Vanna at her apartment. Now, first of all, can I just say that when they opened up that door, I did not expect for her apartment to look like that. Considering they said that she paid $6,000 a month. And then for me to find out that she lives in Westwood. Now, for people who don't, live in LA, Westwood is a very expensive neighborhood. It's where UCLA is. It's not far from Brentwood. Like, it is a pretty pricey area. I will say that. It is nice though. It's a super nice area. When I saw this apartment, I'm like, girl, ain't no way you're paying $6,000. Ain't no way you're paying $6,000 for this. Because maybe there's some other apartments in that same building that are $6,000, but I don't see it for that apartment. Because that tiny kitchen with that tiny living room, girl, if you're paying $6,000, you're being scammed. Like, seriously. Like, her place just did not look like it cost that much. I'm sorry. But let's just go ahead and go back to the scene. So, we already know that they're showing up to her place trying to figure out what she got in her apartment, what do it look like, and who's paying for it. So, of course, when they get there, she has them take off their shoes. She's over trying to light some sage, talking about some they were bringing in some type of a weird energy. I'm like, girl, yeah, because they trying to figure out the truth about you and what you got going on. So once they finally sit down or whatever, Stevie is like, we just here to check you out, see what's going on, what's going on with this, like, apartment? Like, how are you able to afford this? Y'all, why her response was, I get it how I get it. I said, you know what? Savannah, just tell the truth at this point, because you are dragging this out as to how you are getting this money. And then for her to go on talk about, so I just manifest it and it just comes to me. Once my hands start itching, the money just comes to me. And like Stevie said, girl, well, how often is these hands itching and how much money is coming to you? Because, my God, how can you afford this lifestyle? And once Stevie brought up the fact that he knew that she's paying, around $6,000, she's like, how do you even know that? And here comes Stevie Jr. talking about we looked it up on Zillow. I said, you know what? I'm so done with this entire scene. Like, Savannah, just say what you doing, girl. So, at one point, she's like, you want me to show you? And I'm like, what is she about to show them? She comes back with her little designer purse. And Stevie's like, yeah, I know how much that purse costs. Like, how you got it? And actually, before she even brought out the purse, we did see a clip of Stevie in his confessional. He's like, I get it. She's a 22-year-old girl. She doesn't want to be questioned about anything. And she doesn't want to be held accountable. She just wants to live her life. And, I completely understand you wanting to go ahead and live your life. But there does have to be some accountability. Like, girl, you can't just have stacks and stacks of money. Because first of all, there's 3 letters that want to know what's going on. It's called the IRS. So how are you getting all this money? If anybody knows how the government will come after you, it's definitely Stevie J, considering he had all those cases for missed child support payments. So, Vanna, I think he trying to help you, okay? And be like, girl, don't be having all this money around and the IRS come knocking. So let me go ahead and go back to when she brought out this purse. So she brings out the purse. She brings out stacks of money out of the damn bag. And Stevie is like, why do you have all this cash? How do you have all this cash? And of course, she's still over here trying to give us some BS answers, talking about I don't do anything that's bad. I'm not stripping. And he's like, yeah, but you're moving fast in LA. And when Stevie said that, I said, you know what? I am fully on Stevie's side when it comes to this Savannah situation and her living, her lifestyle. Because there's no way you are in a place like LA and you just have stacks and stacks of money. Either you are dating rich old men, you are like a sugar baby, you got an OnlyFans, you're doing something for this amount of money. Something in the milk is not clean. And when you move fast like that in LA, that's a hard lifestyle and hard front that you are trying to put on. And the fact that she's just super defensive about this whole situation, and when she was like, I just focus on my business, and Stevie's like, girl, you ain't got a t-shirt, a hoodie, nothing around here. So then she comes back talking about I didn't like anything that was sent to me or whatever. And I'm like, so you didn't like none of your samples. That means you go back to the drawing board and you go ahead and you keep focusing on your designs. Come on, girl. So after that, Stevie started listing off prices of the things that he was seeing in the apartment. He like, this bag is $2,200. It costs $1,600. This costs that costs this. And then we have Stevie Jr. like, yo, for real, where is Vanna getting all this money from? She's spending $1,500 on the dog, because the dog is vegan. I said, oh Lord, please don't say that the dog is vegan, because that is not healthy at all. Poor Savage. So at that point, she kicked him out of her place. She was like, thanks for coming, but bye. She was not feeling it when they were asking her all these questions, trying to get to the bottom of where is Savannah getting all this money. So I don't know if you guys actually paid attention to the clip of her in her confessional when she had like the two buns on her head, she did have on a sweatshirt that said the good vibe, and I'm going to assume that that was from her line. And if that was, she needs to go back to the drawing board because it wasn't cute, it wasn't stylish, and it's just lazy fashion. Alright, y'all, now we have Grandma Gang. Here we go with Pep and her sister Dawn. And I realize that their family is very tiring. But anyways, so they meet up or whatever, and they're in New York. They're just catching up and talking about how, TT decided to go against the family and talk about Sam and all this stuff. And then here come the Auntie Dawn talking about that's none of her business and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, I can see that y'all two as sisters are a mess. I feel like this auntie is probably the messiest one of them all, because there's no way she should be in these kids' business like she is. Talking about, because I've heard that, there's a lot of things going on with TT, and how TT has her own troubles that she needs to worry about and all this stuff. And I'm like, but girl, you're her aunt. Like, you're her auntie. Why aren't you reaching out to TT being like, hey girl, heard you're going through this, how can I be some type of guidance for you or someone you can come to for advice? You out here being old and messy and your hair is toe up. I'm sorry, but it is something wrong with that family when it comes to their hair. Lord Jesus. Y'all remember when we first saw Pep in Egypt on this show, looking a mess by the head? Look at this auntie. I cannot. Thank God TT got it together. Alright, so speaking of TT, she goes to see Tyran's new school or whatever. And of course she's proud of him. But that celebration, it was cut short because in walks his mom, Pep. And Peppa is there or whatever. She tried to ask him like simple stuff about the school. And I'm like, girl, you should have already known those answers. But I guess you're nervous because TT is here. So they start talking about TT's baby or whatever. And when TT, oh my gosh, she was like, I'm sorry, not TT, Peppa was like, well, I'm trying to figure out like, what am I to the baby or whatever? Am I like the aunt, the cousin, the what? And, she's like, well, I called Tyran uncle for the baby, which I understand why she does that, because like I've said before, Tyran and TT are more like brother and sister than they are cousins, because they grew up together. Because I'm pretty sure, if I can recall, TT's mom practically raised Tyran while Pep was out doing whatever she was doing. So when it comes down to what should the baby call Pep though, I fell out when TT was like, that woman he hasn't met yet. But of course we have Peppa, who is offended the fact that, that lady who he's yet to meet, what does that even mean? Like, exactly what was said, girl. So at the end of this scene though, Tyran basically wants to get the whole family together. I don't see that happening, but it may happen later on in this season. Alright, so next we get a quick scene of JoJo and Angela. They're meeting up with Uncle Luke's daughter, Cree. Come to find out, Cree is actually an event planner, and JoJo wants her to help plan this surprise anniversary party for Denise. And of course, Angela is like, well, it'd be great if your dad, he performs. And she has to let them know that they don't have the best relationship, but she hopes to mend it. So you guys already know that at some point we're going to see Uncle Luke here trying to mend fences with his daughter, Cree. Alright, so this last scene we see Peppa come home to Egypt, and she has the surprise, which is her aunt who's messy. So the messy Aunt Dawn is there to, of course, talk crap about TT. That's pretty much her whole role on this episode. So they have just like a brief conversation about how much Egypt has grown up and how, now Egypt's getting married, and Egypt's like, yeah, I want to have like my wedding in Jamaica or whatever. And Peppa's like, well, I'm hearing that TT wants to do something in Jamaica. So now Egypt is like, she completely stole that idea from me. I wouldn't be surprised if she did that. And I'm just like, wait a second. You really about to sit up here and act like TT is out here stealing ideas from you? Girl, both of y'all are from the same family. Of course y'all gonna want a fucking wedding in Jamaica. Are you kidding me? Are you stupid, Egypt? Like, if you already know that y'all both have the same family roots, why wouldn't you think y'all have the same thought of, yes, I'll get married in Jamaica? Also, didn't she meet Sean in Jamaica? Or am I tripping? Like, actually, it makes more sense for TT to get married in Jamaica than it does for Egypt. Also, let's just talk about who can actually afford a fancy wedding in Jamaica to begin with. Last time I checked, TT's man has money. Like, he has a nice bank account. What does Sam have? Oh yeah, his $3,500 that he is getting from his OnlyFans. Girl, bye. So of course at this point, this is where, Egypt talks about how she was never going to trust TT. And then you have her auntie over here chiming in every second that she can, even though I don't think that lady has any teeth in her mouth. Then Pep goes on to talk about how, TT was at Tyran's little opening or whatever, and when they spoke, she has to bring up the whole thing about her being the lady that the baby hasn't met. And now everybody's so offended. And then here comes the auntie with the mess, talking about TT needs to clean up her own backyard because I heard that her man was cheating on her and he's had a couple of relationships behind the scenes. I said, you know what? I'm done. That right there was so unnecessary, so messy. The fact that you brought this on TV, like, I'm done. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you guys in the next review. Bye, guys.